Hello and welcome to the Dark Mount video review for Transformers Robots in Disguise 2015 Warrior Class Strongarm. Now, Strongarm is the first female robot that we're seeing, at least that I think they've announced. I could be wrong on that. The first female robot that I am aware of in the Robots in Disguise show, so it seems like she's kind of going to be a little bit like RC was in Prime. She's going to be kind of the rough and tumble female member of the team, but instead of being like RC and being very slender and very tiny, she is a giant truck, and she transforms into kind of a bruiser figure. Like I said in her Legion figure review, she is kind of like Strika in that she's a much larger, kind of breaking the mold type of female robot, which is cool. She doesn't have a lot going on in terms of color, but she's got her bar up there. She's got some painted black windshields and side windows. They did actually paint the whole side window, which is really awesome. They did not paint the back window, however. There's white, obviously. So it's a decent looking car. They have the problem where they have the painted plastic and then I don't know what the deal is. I guess they're molded in two different colors, but this blue doesn't exactly match up with that blue, but it's not super apparent. I mean, you'd have to be looking pretty close to notice it at the right angle. I don't know why that's like that. So you may have noticed she has a giant hole in the top of her, and that is for the gun that she comes with. That also stores under here, which a lot of reviewers aren't talking about, and I don't know why. I don't know if that's not in the instructions. I don't use instructions, so maybe that's not in there, and that's why people don't know about it, but you can just use either of the posts on the sides of the guns and use the little hole under there. It plugs in, the gun sits in between these little breastplates perfectly, and it doesn't even really show at all under the car. I mean, maybe at certain angles you see a little bit of it, but so there's no clearance issues or anything like that. And you can also, if you wish, stick that in the top of her car, which is definitely an option. Pull that off. Here is wave 1 and 2 in their vehicle and beast modes. To transform Strongarm, want to come down here and kind of lightly separate the sides, which will let you kind of maneuver the doors. And I'm just being overly careful because I like tabs. So once you have those out, that allows you to easily disconnect the legs, which peg in there to there. And this whole thing, you can kind of just flip up like that. Once you have all that situated, you can just come rotate these out. They become the feet. Rotate at the waist. And then for the arms, there are two pegs right here that peg in that way. So you just want to pull those out like that. And then this part pegs in, so you can pull these down. I, just to get them out of my way, usually like to fold these arms in at this point. They snap in, like so. This part is a little weird the first time you do it. It's just an issue of the swinging angle. This whole thing kind of swings outward, like that. It's on kind of a ball joint, if you can see, so it kind of swings up and out. And it has a little tab right there. So again, I'm usually overly cautious with that. It seems like a pretty strong tab, so I don't think I'm going to break it, but again, you're just going to grab that and kind of swing it up and out like that. once you have that done, you flop this down, and that's going to let you rotate, as long as you have the back stuff out of your way, rotate these shoulder bits right here on the sides down, and that will put the shoulders in a more natural place for her robot mode. And then just fold this back up, and that'll kind of lock those in place so they don't move anymore. And then this whole thing flops up onto her back, like so. And you can do really whatever you want with these. I see a lot of people folding them back like that and then complaining that she has a really big backpack. But as I believe it was Bolt Matrix, maybe PL mentioned, I can never remember. Her CGI model does kind of have wings. They're not quite this big, but it's kind of Beast Wars syndrome where their CGI model has kind of toy-ish things about them, but they're not the exact same. So this is just personal preference, but I actually enjoy when Transformers have kind of interesting silhouettes, when they have wings sticking off of them or something. I really do prefer that. I kind of think that's an iconic Transformers thing, that you can kind of look at a robot by their silhouette even, and recognize who they are, know their characteristics and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of important. So I don't mind the wings at all. I feel like it kind of gives her a character, and you also see some nice blue paint up there, but it's really up to you. For articulation, she is obviously a little bit limited. You have a little bit of issue where these don't always lock in unless you're holding the chest down. It pushes it up just enough that it can rotate anyway, which is a little unfortunate. But they're also on these up and downs and a ball joint. The real problem is just this back stuff hits into things. So if you're willing to kind of move that stuff out of your way, you can get a decent range of motion out of her, but it requires a little more effort than usual. Then her arm is a little weird. It's on like a post there, so it swings forward and backwards, which is actually a lot like her Legion's figure, which is weird. And then she has a kind of above the elbow swivel, and then an elbow, and then obviously no hand articulation because her hand is a box. It's got the waist articulation. Sorry. It's got the waist articulation, ball jointed hips, upper leg swivels, knee bends, and then the feet. There's no tilting. I'm a phone. And her head is on a ball joint, and it's actually pretty expressive. Yeah, there's really no limitation at all there. Obviously, her chin keeps her from looking down farther than that, because she does have a pretty massive chin. She can do blue steel. She does have really big lips. Like, super lips. She's got a cool head sculpt, though. I mean, she's a good-looking figure. I'm a fan. I'm excited to see this show. I think it's going to be fun. I hope she's kind of like this. She's neat. And then, obviously, you can give her her gun, which is like a flamethrower, or it's in like a always shooting kind of thing, so you can have her in like a super action shot with firing gun. And here you have a size comparison of all of the Wave 1 and 2 warrior figures in their robot modes. And they're all generally the same size. Optimus is a little bit taller, but they're all generally the same size, width, mass, all of that. There's not a huge level of variance between these figures. So my final thoughts on this figure are pretty positive. She does have pretty hollow legs, and I mean, I guess it's a shame that they didn't figure out a way to have these both fold flat, but they're too long. If they had folded all the way down, one would stick out that far, and the other, I mean, they wouldn't be able to collapse anyway, so they would have had to do multiple folding panels, and then you're talking about increasing the parts count and the price, and probably just didn't work for what they're going for. These guys they're weird. They're somewhere kind of in between the animated level of difficulty and like some of the more complex like scout class type guys. I mean, it's weird. They're not really super simple, but they're not very complex. They're a really strange middle ground where I don't know. I don't mind it. They're not complex at all, but they're not one-step changers. But I think she looks pretty good. I've checked out the Japanese versions, which usually have a little bit more paint, and they basically look the same. She's got some like white stripes down her chest, but that's about it. I don't really care. I'm usually not one to spend a lot of extra money on the Japanese paint color. I'll do it if it's like an exclusive figure like Rat Bat or something, but yeah, I wish this pegged in, I guess. I wish that these were a little less huge so they didn't smash into that stuff, and I do wish that these pegged in better. To be honest, I don't totally understand. I mean, I guess you can't really form the alt mode without moving them. That's kind of a shame. I wish they had just figured out a way to... That's not that much of a difference. They should have just figured out a way to not have to rotate these. So, meh. What can you do? It's still a very good figure. I recommend it. It's probably one of my more liked figures in this line, I think. I enjoy her. That might also just because I like the fembots that we're getting recently, and I like the fact that she's not some dainty little motorcycle chick or something. She looks like she could hold her own, to say the least. And I do like her weapon. It's weird that it's like constantly firing or shooting fire or whatever it's doing. Or like getting attacked by some kind of sea anemone. I don't know. She's cool. I recommend. Thanks for watching.